Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Megaman Battle Arc 5. In the last part we got Searchman on our team and now it's time for this liberation mission. Something's wrong with this dark panel. Good eye, Searchman. I've heard that some dark panels are booby-trapped. We can't just liberate panels haphazardly. Something's coming. Welcome to End Area 5, Team Proto-Man. Who the heck are you? I'm Cosmoman. I control the world of darkness. Let's see how you managed to make it this far.
Why didn't he bother telling us his skill beforehand? He talks tough, but I think he's just a bit brainless.
Take it as a sign of his confidence. He's a strong one, no doubt about it.
This place seems to be full of barrier panels. Keep an eye out for traps as we look for the key.
Definitely. Searchman?
I'm an expert at finding items. I can even liberate panels from a distance.
Your search power is something else. Okay, let's do it. Get ready, Lan. Complete the liberation within 9 phases. Roger. Alrighty, time for what is probably my overall least favorite liberation mission. Why? It's around here that we start getting traps in item panels that can damage you, as one will show up here right about now. This is also one of the few missions I don't recommend trying to get one-turn liberations all over the place. Now, as for Searchman's abilities... let me think for a second. Searchman in battle, when we get to... Well, actually, no, outside of battle... He only has one ability, and that is panel search. What that does is that he checks, I believe, the entire row of dark panels in front of him. And if there's an item panel, he'll liberate it, and he can liberate multiple item panels at once, as I'll show off later. In battle, however, as we'll get to see later, the way he works is, first off, he has probably, I think, the slowest charge shot in the game in terms of how long it takes to charge it. However, what it does is that it locks onto an enemy no matter where they are and deals 50 damage, or at least 5 hits of whatever damage it takes. I think it's usually just 50, though. His special chip is Satellite, which is actually an attack I think he could have used during his boss fight, where he makes a targeting reticule go all over the enemy area, and you have to press A on the panel you want to be on. It'll then attack that panel for 100 damage, crack the panel, and any perpendicular panel is vertically or horizontally will get splash damage. He has no element, by the way, and yeah. Now, as for the counter to him back in Team Colonel, it is, believe it or not, Higsby and Numberman. Higsby is a bit different from Riker in the fact he begs to join Team Colonel so he can prove he's a man. Numberman is only helpful to get into these areas. He's my least favorite Navi between the two games, actually. When you're playing as him outside of battle, you can check a 3x2 area ahead of him and collect any items and remove traps, by the way, which is what panel search can do as well, without engaging in battle. By the way, if you wonder why I didn't show that battle off with Searchman to show off his abilities, notice how his HP was at 50. He'll nothing but dust motes compared to me. Anyway, going back to Numberman. In battle, Numberman's charge shot is the dice bomb, which was actually a technique he used way back in 1. Which he throws a dice onto the enemy panels, and its power is determined by what number of dots is on the die. And his special chip ability is Number Trap. I forget what that does. Let me Google this. By the way, new enemy is a Bladia, rather, too. They're just stronger variations, that's it. No new attacks or anything. If I recall correctly, what Number Trap does is that it's a randomly placed mine that I think does random damage, but I'm not sure. It's been forever since I played Colonel. Let's see, 1 trap, 2 traps, totaling 100 damage. That's the danger of one-turn liberations in this place. Thankfully, all the traps are always in the same location, so you can plan around it, but it can still get annoying. Speaking of the traps, there's actually 2 variations of them, at least at this point. I forget if they add any more. There's the damage traps, like the one that just did that to Megaman, and then there's the worst ones, the paralysis traps, like the one that's about to hit Napalm Man right now. What paralysis traps do is that you might recall back when Protoman was deleted in battle a while back. I think it was Protoman. He got paralyzed and was unable to move for a couple of turns until he recovered. This is pretty much the same thing. However, you can plan around it, thankfully, with them. Like, Napalm Man is now out of duty for a couple turns, but by the time he heals, will be the perfect time because I'll need him again then. Also, this is probably one of the Liberation missions I remember the least because... Searchman, I always forget what I have to do with him because he's not too useful outside of battle. Thankfully, Air Spinner 2 is always useful. I was gonna explain something. What was it? I don't recall. Oh, crap. Oh, well. Oh, that's right. This is actually more than likely going to be the Liberation mission where you're always the lowest on order points because they're pretty scarce in this map. I always know where one is, thankfully, because item panels are always set. It's the bonus panels that are random. But yeah, like that panel, the item panel that was on the far left of the screen a moment ago is one that has order points, which I'm going to need later. Thankfully, that one-turn liberation turned out well for me. I'm not exactly sure what determines where one-turn liberations make panels disappear in terms of their range. I think it all depends on their proximity to a dark hole, but I'm not entirely sure on that fact. Anyway, new enemy, Tin Hawk 2. Sounds like Timbuktu. As usual, the Tin Hawks are just the easiest out of all the Guardians because they are very easy to counter-hit and abuse the AI of. However, when they're partnered with, what they're called, Bug Tank EXs, that's when they start to get annoying. Why is that? Well, Bug Tank EXs have a really fast firing rate, and when they're paired up in multiples, that can get kind of annoying. It's one of the factors that makes this my least favorite Liberation mission. One of the many, actually. Thankfully, one thing that's actually pretty good about Megaman in this scenario, I'm actually kind of glad they got rid of Gyroman for this one, is that you can actually run into Larks here, which means you can deal pretty much one-hit KOs to them with Megaman. In fact, Megaman is probably one of my favorite party members out of the entire team. Overall, my favorite party member is probably between... Protoman, probably. Considering how well I use him. Double Soul-wise, well, we'll get to that eventually. Also, that's one thing that's really annoying about Woo Notes. They will more often than not screw up your time bombs. And I should mention, by the way, I took out the full custom battleship because it would just waste time and space in these Liberation missions. Oh, that's right, I always forget you can find bug frags in item panels. I know you can always find Zenny, order points, and other things, but I always forget bug frags are a thing. Then again, bug frags were only really useful to me back in Battle Network 2. For Zeus Hammer, because my god, that chip was broken if you knew how to use it right. Heck, I think it's what I finished the final boss off with in 2, way back when. No, I actually had to go out of my way to get those order points so I could do this. I always usually have at least one more. I'm not sure where it went. Huh. Because you're going to want to use panel search on all 3 of these specific panels to get their rewards. And I'm showing another battle because he really doesn't get an opportunity to show his stuff much in this battle because I was playing with him pretty sloppily. And you know what it is? It's because I'm so used to Megaman at this point with his really fast charge shot thanks to my Navi cust. that his charge shot goes really slowly. I mean, look at that. I love you, Satellite. Stupid Champy. You know, it's kind of weird, actually. Most Navis in their first Liberation mission get a good amount of use. Like, Gyro Man had to fly all over the place, Magnaman had to do his stuff, Napalm Man had to blow some shit up. Whereas Searchman kind of gets the short end of the stick in that. Not as much as the next Navi, but he barely does anything in this mission. At least with the way I strategize. I do recommend taking out dark holes as soon as possible, but then again, I know I'm kind of late in saying this, because you really don't want those guardians to attack you outside of battle. If you're playing Battle Network 5 Team Colonel, that can be kind of opportunative. That can be kind of a different story entirely, due to the fact that Nightman shields you from all outside battle damage if you're on the same panel, but that's just something extra you have to keep in mind, and I don't like doing that in this game. I do believe the sword guard that the Bladias do, by the way, can block against battle chips, but I'm not entirely sure about that. I usually don't get them the opportunity to live. At least not particularly long. By the way, if I'm late, I'm sorry, I'm very late in saying this, but I'm sorry about my pronunciation at times because I do not enunciate well at all. Ow! Ugh, I hate you, Cosmoman. Actually, was Cosmoman in Classic? I don't think he was. He's possibly based off Astro Man. You know what? To Google. That sounds like it was one from the Classics, but I can't recall. Nope, I got nothing. Although, fun little fact, he's actually Laserman's successor. He's technically Regal's Navi on his own. Yeah, he has no original counterpart. Weird. I could have sworn he did. He had a really weird role in the manga, though. Ugh. In case you can't figure it out at this point, I actually really like Gyro Soul. I could do over 100 damage with its charge shot if the enemy is on the third block away, because that, which is kind of broken. Over 100 damage on something that's not a battle chip. I mean, dear lord. The closest thing that we got to that in the previous games was, I want to say either Windman's Double Soul in 4 or probably the charge shot you got for the final area in Battle Network 1, because you got a substantial stat boost in that. By the way, if you can't figure it out at this point, we're not fighting the boss this part. The next key is in this panel, by the way. Yeah, and that's Barrier 3 unlocked. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 22, we're going after Cosmoman to end this Liberation mission off and see what happens afterwards. See you guys then.